I'm gonna help you decide whether or not you should keep your Game Pass subscription for 2026. What is up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories, pretty much anything I want to talk about, as long as it's about Xbox in some way. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. Like I always say, it ain't an Xbox Ready video unless I talk about Game Pass in some way, or at least that's what I used to say before they hit us with those price increases earlier this year. Game Pass used to be Xbox's ace in the hole. It was awesome. It was supposed to be the thing that helped Xbox turn it all around. People were constantly hyping it up as the Netflix of games, and that comparison was very deliberate considering how dominant Netflix has been in its own market since it launched. You could always counter when someone said, hey, PlayStation has this, they have a cool controller for the PS5. You could always say, but they don't have Game Pass though. In fact, Game Pass was so influential that PlayStation said, okay, we'll make our own little version, we'll modify PS Plus so it's sort of like Game Pass. But they pulled the punch, unlike Xbox, who was like, you know what, we're gonna have this library of games and we're putting all of our new first-party games onto the service the same day that they launch, something that PlayStation would never do. And just as they were starting to get moving on those day one first-party editions, they raised the prices, which I was okay with paying $20 a month for that ultimate tier, but I was okay with paying that $20 a month because I was like, okay, they're really cooking with the additions to the library every month. But then it went from 20 to $30 and everything, absolutely everything changed. Seemingly everything that Xbox stood for was up in the air and in question. 2025 will always be the year that Game Pass changed forever. The year that many longtime fans canceled. But did they do it too soon? Is 2026 the year that Game Pass proves everyone wrong? 2026 is a huge year for Xbox, or on paper, it should be a huge year. Yes, 2026 is also the year that Grand Theft Auto 6 is supposed to come out, but over on the Xbox side, we have new installments in some of Xbox's most storied and accomplished franchises coming our way. And of course, when those games release, they're gonna be added to Game Pass. That's still happening, price increase or no. And my number one personal favorite game, the game that I've been waiting for, most hyped for years at this point, is the new Fable game. Over the past couple of years, we've seen some pretty decent trailers for Fable. The graphics and the game world looks great. The world looks vast. This could be the biggest version of Albion that we've seen up until this point. All of that is to be expected from Playground Games, whose claim to fame is working on the Forza Horizon series. And with that change in studio from Lionhead, rest in peace, to Playground Games, it seems like the tone of the world has also shifted. Those original Fable games, 1, 2, and 3, they're more cartoonish. They lean a little bit more into like the Brothers Grimm fairy tale vibe. This modern Fable seems to be more grounded in reality, as realistic as a fantasy setting could get. That may or may not work out for them. There's been reports saying that there are some CD Projekt Red veterans working on Fable, and from some of the gameplay footage, especially with the combat in Fable, it looks kind of similar to what you would see in The Witcher 3. In the trailers we've seen so far, it seems that it's gonna have those same three fundamental combat mechanics. Also, from what we've seen, it looks like that all of the three major combat styles from the original Fable games are going to be represented in this reboot. Strength, agility, and magic, otherwise known as will in the game. And yes, you can kick chickens, that's a good sign. They say that the dark, dry humor is still going to be around. I'm not entirely sure how far they're gonna push that. I'll believe it when I see it. That's what's tough about this stuff. Like when you make a game that is part of this historic franchise, one that helped put Xbox on the map, you want to push it in a new direction, because obviously there's a reason why the Fable series and Lionhead Studios declined and was ultimately shut down. So you want to push it in a fresh, exciting direction, but you want to stay true to what brought people to Fable in the first place. You want to keep its soul, and that's a hard balance to maintain. Which brings me to my last concern. What's the story gonna be like? Playground Games, they can make a great looking open world game. Sure, not a ton of experience in making a narrative driven role playing game. One where your choices matter. Is there a morality system gonna come back? Like if I do evil stuff, am I gonna grow horns out of my head? What's the deal? There's also a strong possibility that Gears E-Day is gonna be landing into the Game Pass library in 2026. We know less about Gears E-Day than we do Fable, but we know that it's a prequel set 14 years before the start of the first Gears of War game. It's going to cover Emergence Day, which is the day that the Locust Horde sprung up out of the ground and attacked all the major cities of humanity. And it's not like humanity was doing so hot at the time anyway, because the Pendulum Wars had just ended. This is a really exciting opportunity to learn more about Marcus Phoenix and his best friend Dom. For anyone who played through Gears Reloaded, either as, a trip down memory lane or it was your first time playing it, we know that Marcus starts out in prison, in the slab, and then is busted out to help fight the Locust Horde. So as a fan of the series, I'm wondering how much they're going to cover in Gears E-Day. We know that Marcus, during E-Day, like literally as the Locusts were springing up, was in a city called Kelowna, and he's also credited in being in Halvo Bay fighting off Locusts as well. They have a lot of material to work with, but I'm wondering how much they're willing to cover in a single game. It makes me kind of think they might split it up into multiple titles, a prequel trilogy maybe, because from the events of E-Day to the decisions that Marcus made to get him into the slab, that's a 10-year gap. So I'm wondering, okay, do they just literally cover E-Day, the day that the Locusts pop up out of the ground, and then in another game cover the fall of Ephyra? We've seen no gameplay of this, but the trailer that they showed off in 2 showcases ago, I believe, was in-engine, and there's no reason to believe that this game won't look incredible, won't run incredible, because the Coalition has been putting in absolute work with Unreal Engine 5. Now, I know Unreal Engine 5 does not inspire a lot of confidence nowadays, but I feel like Gears E-Day, the Coalition, that's the exception right now in the industry, given their expertise. Forza Horizon 6, another strong candidate to make its way on over to the Game Pass Ultimate Library in 2026. There's no reason to believe that this game won't be just as good, if not better, than Forza Horizon 5. Hell, all they need to do is just do the same thing, but make a really cool map. Forza Horizon 6 is going to be set in Japan, and everything that we're hearing about it, the team sounds really excited about the map. Urban environments for street racing, juxtaposed by the natural, beautiful landscape of Japan that we've seen work out for other studios like Sucker Punch and also Ubisoft. This should be an easy home run for Xbox and Game Pass. Another strong addition to the Game Pass library potentially is Halo Campaign Evolved. Now, this is the only game that I've gotten to play out of all the games that we've talked about so far. Xbox was kind enough to offer me a preview build that let me play one of the missions. It was very, very short. Now, there's been a lot of discourse of, oh, Master Chief shouldn't be able to sprint in Campaign Evolved. This is bullshit. The game ran well, and it still retained that classic feel that I remember from Halo Combat Evolved. It just looked a lot better. And make no mistake, this is a ground-up remake in Unreal Engine 5. It's not like Gears Reloaded, where they just did a remaster of Gears Ultimate. There's no multiplayer, which is a little strange, outside of the 4-player campaign co-op that they're adding, which makes me believe that in the price range, it's not going to be a full $70. It shouldn't be. It should be like in the $40 to $50 range. I think this will be a great opportunity for Halo Studios to really deliver a base hit to get some momentum going into their other Halo projects, which, by the way, I'm going to be talking about those projects and what's going on in Halo Studios in another video, so stay tuned. Clockwork Revolution is also slated for a 2026 release and should be landed on Game Pass Ultimate Day 1 as well. This is a game from inXile that it looks like BioShock, if we're being completely honest. It looks like BioShock Infinite. It's a first-person shooter set in like this Victorian steampunk city known as Avalon. The revolution in question seems to be against Lady Ironwood and the upper-class douchebag nobles of Avalon. It is confirmed to be a first-person shooter with some time-traveling, time-freezing shenanigans. The Xbox Wire describes it as dynamic time-bending combat, deep interconnected role-playing systems, and the ability to create your own unique character from the ground up. You'll be using something called the chronometer, which is that time-bending device to traverse the world, and also use it to influence the past and then return to the present to experience the effects of your decisions. That sounds really cool. Now, all of these games sound cool, or they have some sort of potential to be exciting new additions to the Game Pass library and therefore justify your monthly subscription. However, none of them are a lock for 2026 as of yet. Now, as of right now, only 6 games are confirmed to be added to Game Pass in 2026. We know that there are more on the way, but as of right now, there are only 6, and they're none of the games that we were just talking about. On January 22nd, we're supposed to be getting Mio, Memories in Orbit, which is a Metroidvania where you explore the vessel, an enormous technological arc overgrown with machines gone rogue. Also being added on January 22nd is Nova Roma, a city building game where you must appease the gods, enact laws, and develop complex supply chains to meet the needs of your citizens. In February, we're getting Menace, a turn-based tactical RPG where you answer distress calls from different worlds, train and equip infantry, deploy tanks mechs and mechs and plan and execute missions in detailed turn-based battles. Also in February, we're getting High on Life 2, the sequel to the game with talking guns made by the people who made Rick and Morty. On February 19th, we're getting Death Howl, which claims to be a hybrid of a Souls-like game, but also a deck-building card game. And then in March, we're supposed to be getting Replaced, a 2.5D platformer that blends cinematic exploration with fluid, free-flow action. Now, outside of High on Life 2, there is a strong chance that you haven't heard about any of these games being added to Game Pass in 2026. None of those games, I don't think they're gonna make anyone be like, yes, I'm committing to Game Pass for at least through March. Here's $90, Microsoft. And this is why Developer Direct in January is gonna be so important for fans and for Xbox to determine, hey, is Game Pass gonna be worth it for me next year? Are we getting Fable? Are we getting Gears Z-Day? Are we getting Forza Horizon 6? Give us release dates for those. Outside of that, we know that Xbox is committed to bringing 75 day one games to Game Pass next year to help justify that price increase. But how many of those are going to be on the same level of quality and hype as those major first-party games like Fable and FH6? So back to the original question. Is it worth it to have Game Pass in 2026 now that it's $30 a month to get those day one brand new games? And in order to answer this, we have to break it down to the amount of games that you realistically see yourself playing. You, not me as a guy whose whole life is playing and talking about video games on the internet. You, because the undeniable truth, unless you buy some old gift cards and stack them for the next couple of years, which totally works by the way, is that you will be paying $360 a year for Game Pass Ultimate. Now, if we're assuming that at least 3 of those major first-party games, Fable, Forza Horizon 6, Gears E-Day, they're going to be full priced. And if you also throw in Clockwork Revolution, Halo Combat Evolved, High on Life 2, games that shouldn't be a full price, but maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Now, if you plan on playing those 5 or 6 games, if you bought them separately, that should more or less be like right under that $360 that you're paying for the year, even if Campaign Evolved is like $40 to $50. Now, what we're seeing here is that with the price increase, it's getting harder and harder just to break even on the amount of games needed to play in order to justify your subscription. Back when it was $240, okay, great. I play, I don't know, like 3 brand new games in the year, and that's almost already worth it. So what you need to be asking yourself is, outside of these new games, what other games do you realistically see yourself playing in order to get you over that hump of $360? And even if you play every single game on this list, the major ones, the lesser ones, Replace, Nova Roma, Death Howl, Gears, all of it, just to justify you paying that amount of money for Game Pass, it's entirely possible that you won't enjoy all those games. And that's another thing that used to be awesome with the old price of Game Pass, because even at $20 a month, it was like, okay, well, I tried this game, I was really hyped for it, it got added day one, it wasn't for me, but I could just move on to the next thing. It didn't feel like a massive waste of time or money. It was just like, oh, you know, I've rented this game, I didn't like it, so I'm gonna rent another game. Those feelings are still sort of there, even at the $30 tier. But if you pay $30 for the month and the marquee game that's being added for that given month doesn't live up to your expectations, that's disappointing. How else are you stretching out the value of Game Pass Ultimate? Are you using Fortnite Crew? Are you cashing in those 1,000 V-Bucks a month? Working through that Battle Pass? Are you checking out Ubisoft Plus Classics? Do you have the time to be playing these games? Because here's what's really going on, is that you have to ask yourself, am I willing to play different games? Because if you just want to play Fable, if you just want to play Gears E-Day, and you're keeping your subscription active for that, just buy the game, and then you'll have it forever, sort of. And with these price increases, with Xbox expanding Play Anywhere and the Stream Your Own Games initiative, Microsoft and Xbox, they're kind of making this case of like, okay, maybe I should just buy my games digitally, I'll own them on multiple platforms, I'll be able to stream them, versus just renting them through Game Pass. As much flack as Game Pass has gotten over the past few months, for some people it may be worth it. Ultimately, that's gonna be up to you, but hopefully this video helped you out, made you think a little bit about where you stand going into 2026 with Game Pass. Hopefully we'll have more information about what's going to be added after Developer Direct. But until then, if you want to come by and chat about other Xbox stuff, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I'm working on some pretty exciting stuff for 2026, expanding Xbox Ready to other platforms, and maybe trying out some other types of content. So stay tuned. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.